Welcome everyone to Coffee and an Interview. I'm Jacqueline Pena, and I'm so excited today because I'm here with Lauren Goché, and we have quite a conversation for you. But I'm going to ask our wonderful guest, Lauren, to please introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Goché. I'm a realtor in Portland, Oregon. And I, of course, sell houses. I renovate houses. But I think that what I tell people is I'm really passionate about people having housing security and building equity and generational wealth. And that's kind of what motivates me in this job instead of just oh, it's a cool house, nice counters. So that's actually my real the core of who I am and what motivates me.
I love
Yeah.
that. You're from Portland, Oregon.
Mhm.
You have a wonderful mug. What does your mug say again?
It says Oregon, the best of everything.
Yeah. There's a rainbow, there's a sun, there's boat, there's water.
There's mountains, trees, river, ocean, sailboat. It's delightful. I found it at a garage
Oh,
sale and it's my baby.
it was just the perfect mug when I saw it, thinking about today's conversation and trying to find security and safety, knowing that we have a place where we belong, a place that is ours in some way. And you started talking about building wealth for oneself and generational wealth when you were talking about housing. Um, Definitely important conversations, but not everyone believes that they can have a home of their own. And not everyone is always thinking about this as not just a home, but building generational wealth, something for my children. And I was wondering if we can get into that conversation about home and home safety and having something of our own where we belong.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting, like you saying, that's not what everybody even thinks about. And I feel there's two prongs to that. One is sometimes people are just in survival mode. They're like, I can't think about the future. I have to put food on my plate. I have to get my kids to school. Is there gas in the car? Gas is crazy expensive. You cannot, when you are in survival mode, which honestly, I've kind of been a lot of my life, and I'm just coming out of it in my 40s, is how can you plan for the future when you can't even plan for tomorrow, right? You're just one foot in front of the other to survive. And so that I think that's one prong of trying to get stable enough to even go, oh, I have a future, my family has a future. And that's a whole other thing. And I could go on and on about how we should be supporting more of that in the basis and universal health care, blah, blah, blah. I could go on and on forever about that. So I think that's one prong. And the other prong is the whole American dream. But that American dream is really just built by white men and for white men, to be honest. The laws were that. And so the rest of us, including women, just, it's a new thing for us to be able to own our own things and get a mortgage, right? It's harder to access that and to access that dream. And it's really interesting. My best friend, she is an immigrant, and when we first became friends, I would talk about her maybe buying somewhere and someday, and she's like, oh, no, 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 my family, we don't own, we spend our money on education. And I was like, totally, you are a doctor, you have clearly done that. 100%. And it didn't even occur to her, her grandparents had rented the same apartment in Chicago her whole life that her mom then took over. You know what I mean? That was just the baseline. So it didn't even occur to her to do anything different. I eventually bullied her into buying a house.
Bully.
Oh yeah. My friends call me the love bully. I'm going to bully people out of love, but I'm definitely going to be eh? um, so I think that that's that other aspect, that it's it doesn't even occur to people that you would have access to that. And she was like, oh, this isn't even a thing. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. You don't need a down payment that you think you do. And they weigh student loans in a different way than credit card debt. Let's just start talking. And we worked for a while together to get her to the point. She's like, okay, we talked to a lender, and that lender was like, to afford what you need, these are the steps you need to take in the next few years. And she worked towards that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyways, that is a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, but wow. I mean, to have even the lender create a success plan.
And
That
that's what a good lender should do, to be honest. Like a good lender should look at where you are now and where you want to be and help you create a path. Like a good lender is someone that is like working side by side sometimes for years also.
mm.
Yeah.
I think we always think about the market and people who work in this market as here it's the business deal, got the house, and that's it. Now realizing that there are people in the field who can look at your finances and have those difficult conversations and then come up with a plan to help you get to a place where you can have the down payment and
Yeah.
afford the house so that you're able to have that for yourself and then to be able to pass it on to your children.
Yeah. Yeah. And like there are probably millions of realtors that are just there for the transaction. A good realtor is there. I mean, I become friends with my clients and, I'm a resource for them for as long as they live in their house, Like I get like my buyer's agent calls me, she's like, "Oh, Lauren's golden Rolodex." And I'm like, "You're not even old enough to know what a Rolodex is." Like anyways, and so like it's like Lauren, I need a plumber. Like also, but it's also like I'm the guy that's got a guy, right?
Yeah.
And like one of my favorites was one day, like someone was like, "I don't suppose you know anybody that is like a mobile notary that's also into calligraphy?" And I was like, "Give me five." And I was like, "They'll be at your house in 2 hours."
Oh my. So
Yeah.
it's like you have this support team for life and
Hmm.
working with certain people. But I love
Yeah.
that approach that you're also building community. You're building a community. You're bringing in all these resources. All these people are part of your community. If someone says, "Hey, I need a plumber," you have a plumber in that community. A lot of times when you are thinking about becoming a homeowner or you become a homeowner, the things that scare you are, well, what if my roof
Yeah.
starts leaking? What if my water boiler goes out? And I'm sharing things that have happened to me, right?
Same.
Not prepared for that. I don't know anyone who works in that, and I need to also have funds to be able to cover those things. But it seems like you build a community to
Yeah.
help in that process, and that's so important. This is new to you. If you're not used to seeing others owning homes, you've never owned a home, Rosie. Your parents didn't. You haven't seen that. Where are the role models? How do you learn how to have
Yeah.
this for yourself? If you don't have that, that community becomes very important.
Yeah. And like I don't want someone to be like, "You're on your own now. Good luck."
Mm.
I expect you to kind of just like by a miracle understand all this stuff. So like, yeah, like fucking deuces,
Peace
like
out.
hope things work out. I have like a home maintenance calendar that I like send to people and like, okay, like you need to this is the month that you clean your gutters. This is the month that you get your furnace service, like blah 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 blah, because like if you don't know, you don't know. Like I don't expect people to know and why
We
how
don't
would you know?
we don't do these in apartment buildings. I grew up in
No.
apartment buildings in the Bronx and we don't have gutters to clean. So I needed you. I needed you a long time ago. Oh, you're
Yeah.
supposed to do that? You're supposed to
I
do
know.
that? Okay.
I know, but also there's stuff like I learned from my own mistakes, and like my water heater was having a problem, and I have like a hybrid water heater, and at this point I've sat I don't even know how many hundreds, if not thousands, of home inspections. So I know a lot about houses, a lot about systems. Like I can usually problem solve a fair amount of things. And I called my people and I was like, "My water heater is not working." And they're like, "Yeah, there's a because it's a like a heat pump water heater. They're
Yeah.
like, there's an air filter you've never cleaned in 6 years." And I was like, "I did not know that was there. Check. I will be cleaning that in the future."
Oh my.
I know. I was like, who'd have thunk? Maybe I should have read the manual, but now I
But
know.
they don't come with manuals. That's the thing.
They
That's what I'm saying.
don't.
You build it for people.
Exactly. Like, okay, well, now I know.
Man.
Anyways, yeah.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you've seen with trying to help clients obtain houses that are truly aligned with who they are, houses
Yeah.
where they belong.
Well, I think that, one funny aspect is like it doesn't matter what your budget is. You actually want a house $100,000 more than what you can afford. It doesn't matter if your budget's 400, a million. It is like across the board because it's like it's so close. You can kind of touch it. It's so funny. Like it's every single person. They're like this. I'm like you no. I'm sorry. That's out of budget. Like I know you want that. So I think that one of those things is like adjusting expectations of like here's your budget. People inevitably want something above, like they want a location or a house outside of their budget. That's just human nature. It is what it is. So that's like a conversation where I'm like, cool, you cannot afford what you actually want. So what's got to give? Like, is it the size of the house? Is it the location of the house? Is it the layout of the house? Is it, like, is it certain things? And that is only something that like, I think that it's something that only someone else can choose, but it's something I can coach them towards. Like, I really like to, I'm like, what is your life? I want to know your life now. I want to know your dreams later. And so, like, okay, if you give up this, you're not going to come get to here. So we
Mm,
can't give up this. We got to give up this to get to here, kind of thing. And so, like, I really like to get to know my clients in like a really intimate way so I can kind of coach them to getting to their goals, both short term, long term, midterm. And the only way to do that is getting to know someone, to be honest.
yeah. Yeah, because usually like when I've looked for a home or I've helped a friend who's looking for a home, the questions we get are how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, do you need an open space, closed space, do you need a yard, blah blah blah. And so it's more around what the house brings versus a conversation of, oh, so you work mostly remote and you need a home that has a lot of sunlight and space for your home
Yeah.
office and
Do you entertain? Do you not
it,
care about that? Is
yeah,
cooking
some
a
people
priority?
entertain. Mm-hmm.
Are you going to have kids in the next 10 years? Because the house without kids is different from the house with future kids.
Yes.
Where the bedrooms and the bathrooms are going to be, like you don't want to be a floor away from your baby. Like there's just so many, like do you have an old dog? That old dog you're not going to be able to carry upstairs because it's a big dog. Like what's going to happen when your parents get sick? Like what, like you can't know the future, but we can plan as much as we humanly can to be able to grow into this house in the
Mm-hmm.
future with knowing the goals that you have in mind now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. Even something as simple as you entertain. It's not just to lay out the house, but why would you move into a neighborhood with hardly no parking? Maybe
That's
it's a
real. And we talk about that. I'm like, cool. I mean, there's no parking on the street and there's no driveway. Like, how do you feel about that? Oh, we bike commute and all of our friends bike commute. So done, you
mm-hmm.
know? So there's some houses I would sell to these people, but not to these people and vice versa. And it's not having anything to do with like that. I guess that sounds like very steering, which is super illegal and all that stuff. It's more of like, can you guys handle a remodel? I don't want to be part of your divorce, so we're going to move on to this one that only needs paint.
That's another issue too. You buy a house thinking, "Oh, I'll just remodel it and we'll add another bathroom and we'll change this." And you don't realize how much time and money that takes and you might not have the time because of your careers and your children, maybe
I
your
have a client right now, and she wants this particular location. I love her so much, but she is a single woman who owns a goddamn law firm, and she is like the amount of work that she has as this particular kind of lawyer is bananas. And I finally yesterday, she kept sending these. She only wants two baths, and she keeps sending me these houses, and she's like, "But I could add a bath." And I'm like, "Girl, you do not have capacity for having construction in your house for 3 months. You barely have capacity for moving. I'm going to save you from yourself." And she's like, "Yeah, you're right." And I'm like, "I know." Because I am a single woman who has a crazy ass job and like has to live through some like renovations, and it breaks you. It just breaks you. Like There's, it's a lot to handle. And she's got a dog, and I had dogs, and managing the dogs with the contractors, and like, it's a
Too much.
lot. It's too much. It's too much. Yeah.
Oh my. All right. So those are good lessons that you've learned and good ideas. Strategies. Now let's think about this. So I'm thinking about how I grew up, and I grew up in the Bronx, apartment buildings. We have houses as well, and multifamily
Mhm.
houses with different
Yeah.
apartments. But not everyone, that neighborhood or some of the other neighborhoods I lived in, we don't always know how to get to that house, or we
Hmm.
don't see the path forward, right? Because we're like, okay, well, we have this apartment, it's already cheaper. I'll stay here when my parents move on. I'll still, that kind of thinking. So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm here. I might not know that a house or home of that kind is attainable for me. Or I just don't think it is. Like I've already closed
Hmm.
myself off to that concept.
Yeah.
How do I get there?
How do
What's
I
that
how do I
mind
bully you?
shift?
How
How
do
do you
you I
bully
bully you into
how do you bully me into getting myself ready for a home that's a home for me and my family, and that I can pass on to children or others in my family?
I think that like I can speak of Portland. I can't speak of New York, for
Let's do
instance,
that.
or
Let's do it.
Massachusetts. So, I'm going to go back to my best friend. She loved her apartment. And honestly, she did give some stuff up to live in the house she has now. She was super walkable. She's not walkable. She had two bedrooms. It's only a one bedroom house. But now she has a yard and she loves plants. She has a little studio that she's a flamenco dancer.
Oh,
And in addition to a doctor, like
oh, okay.
it's absurd. Yeah, she's a business owner. Like I could put her up on a pedestal forever and ever. Now she's got a little studio that she can practice in. So, again, she gave some stuff up, but how I helped her kind of shift that mindset was the only thing that's going to go up is your property taxes and your home insurance. And property taxes are controlled in Portland 3% per year max. And home insurance is its own beast. But you're not going to, we do have some rent control in that you can only do inflation plus a little bit every year. But if it's 10% every year, 10% on a couple $1,000s, that creeps quickly. And I was like, you can do whatever you want inside, you can do whatever you want outside. And I think that like starting to realize that she could literally like do whatever she wanted other than paint and like remodel and stuff like that, and having the stability of your own rent control essentially. And then when I started to talk about building equity, and that's I would cedar. We used to have these Fridays where we would have like work days where we would have these Fridays and we would just sit down with our computers and work on our own shit and like stuff like that. And that's what I would like start planting these little seeds for like Friday after Friday after Friday after Friday after Friday after Friday. And where she finally was like, "Oh, I could see the advantage of it," And I was like, a stable place to live, building community in a different way,
Mhm.
you know, um, building community both like now she's Mexican, and so of course, Day of the Dead is really, really important, and it's like, we and so she grows marigolds, like the really tall, big, huge ones in her backyard now, the really, really cool ones, and she invites like all of her friends that are also from Mexico, and they harvest them and they all get to bring them back to their ofrendas, and that is not something she could have done in an apartment. And so now this is like a tradition for her. She like loves to do that, and the harvesting and like everybody having her flowers on their ofrendas is like a beautiful thing that she gets to do for her community. Like there's just stuff like that. I don't know. Is that helpful? Am I answering your question? I'm just talking now. Sorry.
It's a beautiful story, and it does. It's how do you it was helping her see a different kind of life where at the end you own this place and you make it your own. So it comes back
Hmm.
to a place that is yours, aligned with who you are. It's the place where you belong.
Yeah. Yeah. And your community belongs, like she would have these dinner parties at home that were great, but now she has a little bit, it's like different. So,
Hmm.
yeah. And she's building equity. She and her partner are building equity and stability in a way that they didn't have before.
So talk a little bit about that, this idea of equity and stability from that sense, because a lot of times we think about a home as a permanent place, our own version of rent control. I like that
Yeah.
statement. And we don't necessarily think about the equity piece. And I think that's important to have. That conversation is important, but that's an important concept
Yeah.
to incorporate in there.
I mean, a lot of the times, most of the time, to be these days, now that
Mhm.
the interest rates are higher than they were in pandemic times, most of the time your mortgage is going to be more than your rent, and that's a hard, like, can you afford that? But you're already paying rent anyways, and that's just paying. I like to think of it as like paying for someone else to get rich, essentially, because you're paying your landlord to continue to get equity and eventually sell the place, and that's their retirement, right? Like, I think of my house as my retirement plan because I did not plan as younger because I was fucking around all over the world and traveling and having a million jobs and not saving and just basically like working until I could quit and then go travel or do something cool. And then, so I am a late starter to thinking about retirement. So I think of as my house as like a really big piggy bank. That also is providing me security and stability and safety. And to take it a little bit further, like, I also have a house that, like, I love that my spare room can be for my girlfriends when they're like, oh my God, I'm going through a breakup. I need somewhere to stay. And I'm like, yep, here's a key. Come and go as you please. Just don't worry about it. Like, I've had some girlfriends come and they just like stay in the room and cry for a while. And I was like, slide food in the room and close the door again. Like, we all need that, right? Like, I love that I have that to offer folks, to be honest. Like, it's been a great thing. But what you're doing is like building equity, which is kind of like, for me, like just a really big piggy bank over the years. And you're never going to build equity in an apartment. You might save money, but most people, if your rent is 2,000 and your
Mhm.
mortgage would be 3,000, most people are not going to be saving that $1,000 a month. You know what I mean? Where if your mortgage is 3,000 a month, you're not necessarily saving, but over the years, you're building equity as the home value increases to eventually sell it and have either a big chunk of money to, like, maybe you buy your first house and you keep it as a rental and move on to another kind of slightly bigger house. And then this is just like, you're not making any money every month. You're just like even, but you know that it's slowly over the years building equity, knowing that eventually in 20 years, it'll be paid off. 30 years, it'll be paid off and you'll sell it and you'll be able to have a nice nest egg kind of thing.
Mhm. And you mentioned something also, equity, this building of equity, this house as your piggy bank, because when you're paying the mortgage, part of that money is what's going into your piggy bank. It's the house you're paying
Yep.
off. Part of it
Yeah.
is interest and a lot of other stuff. And
Yeah.
that accumulates over time.
Oh, can I give you
Oh, yeah.
all of your listeners that are homeowners a tip? One of my favorite tips: instead of paying once a month, you divide it and pay twice a month, which gives you one extra payment a year, and it like takes off like tens of thousands of dollars of interest, and it like shortens your whole years of payment by like years, like literally just dividing it up into two. Like, again, if your mortgage is $3,000, do 1,500 every 2 weeks. You end up paying a little bit more because you have an extra week, but it like snowballs really quickly. So that's my little tip.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that I worked with a lender that was like, well, you can just take your payment and divide it into two payments in the same month. Like they were
Yep,
understanding.
that's the same thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so at first they were like, "Well, we don't do that." And I said, "Well, what if you just charge me the first and the 15th?" They're like, and you got to kind of play with them because they don't always
Yeah,
want to do that.
I think most people do now, most servicers, but it was a minute because they want to make a shit ton of interest because I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, God, you look at the breakdown and you're like,
Oh no,
oh my
let's not
God,
go there.
no, 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 let's move on because,
Those first few
uh,
years, all
oh,
your money goes to interest, and you want to cry.
yeah, but if you, even in the first 2 years, start doing that, that switch over happens pretty quickly where you're
Mhm.
paying majority of the principal instead of the interest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
love that. And other things that also we've tried is, for example, sometimes you have a little bit of money that you're able to put a little bit more towards principal in a certain month. And so if you could put
Hmm.
just a little bit more each
I
payment
mean,
or
I even do like $10 more, and that makes a difference over time.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So anything to make a difference. And then that builds up. And then you have this house, it's paid for or mostly paid for, and it's equity, but you don't have to sell the house.
Or you can get a home equity line of credit, which basically like takes a certain percentage of the equity that you already have. And like, I've used that to remodel my kitchen. I've used that to buy other properties. Like, there's just, that is, you don't want to like max that out forever. It's more of a like a short, to me, it's more of a short-term loan that you can, I wouldn't ever like, let's say you have $300,000 in equity and you get
Mhm.
a loan for that much. Like, I don't love that unless you have a way to pay it off really quickly, because that's, I don't know, that's just not good math. So I like to use it as like emergency fund, like remodel, and then I just know that I'm going to pay that off in a certain amount of time. And yeah.
Yeah. So it's another way to get through a crisis or anything like that that comes up because you have the equity there. It's not
Yep.
a credit card that you're pulling out or tend to make up for that. But
At 25% interest, usually a home
Mhm.
equity line of credit is like, it's like whatever the federal is plus like one, or so it's, right now maybe 6 or 7%, which is
Oh,
way
that's
better than a credit card. Which, like, credit cards, like, I've been there where I have an emergency, I have to put shit on credit cards, and then you just can't get out of the cycle. Like, they design it that way. I mean, don't even get me
Mhm.
started on the racket that is credit, blah 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 blah, because it is a fucking racket. But like, credit cards are designed to screw you over.
Mhm.
Some people can use them great, but those people that can use them great are not living on the edge, which most of Americans are.
Mhm.
And so having a house and having an emergency where you don't have to dip into credit cards and you can dip it into your equity instead is going to be just more affordable in general.
Mhm. Love that. Love that advice. What else? What other tips do you have for us? We now talked about equity. Putting you on the spot.
I know, like, I don't know. Clean your water heater filter that you didn't know you had.
Clean all your filters,
Clean
clean
your,
the gutter, take care of
uh-huh.
the AC unit if you have one of those. Switch the filter out every month. I don't know if I switched my filter out last month actually.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think that I think I've kind of alluded to this before, but like, if I usually say the minute you think, do I want to buy a house? Could I buy a house?
Mhm.
That's the minute that you reach out to a lender and a realtor,
Mhm.
because a lot of the time, like, oh God, especially if you're self-employed, like, you're gonna maybe not as right as girl. You might not write off as much that for that year's taxes to show that you have more income, because you need the income. Because like, as that's the thing is like, as business owners, we're like, write that off. Oh, I only made $40,000 this year as income, as profit. Whereas like, in reality, probably a little bit more. But whereas the mortgage lender was like, hey, you need to show that you made 120,000, and like, you're like, fuck, I gotta pay a lot more taxes. And you're like, but you could buy a house, and like, so, especially if you're self-employed, like, they need a certain amount of years of like taxes of making a certain amount of income. And so like, I like to talk like, I'm going to come on back to my bestie. God, she's going to hate me. Basically, the reason she actually ended up buying a house in the timeline is she came to me and she was like, "Hey, I think I want to start my own health clinic." And I was like, you are not doing that until you buy a fucking house. Because the minute you start a health clinic, your income is going to plummet, because now you're on W-2, you're going to go to 1099, and you're going to put all of your income into building it. You're going to be screwed for a couple years, which means you're not going to be able to buy for another 5.
Mhm.
So, like, it literally was like, step one, plan that, keep planning it. You will not be doing anything until you buy a house. And she was like, good Lord. And I was like, I know. So she did it. She listened to me. She bought her house first. And then within, oh, was it 9 months, she opened her clinic.
Okay. That makes sense though. I think a lot of times when we have our own businesses, self-employed, we don't realize that we need to report a certain income to qualify because we're not thinking
Yeah.
about that house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that about once you're even thinking, is this a possibility? Do I want
Yeah.
to do this? At that moment,
That's
talking to a
the,
professional.
yep.
Hmm.
Like that is the moment that it enters your brain. Talk to folks, get a plan. Like if
Yeah.
Montserrat hadn't, if we weren't besties, she wouldn't have told me. And then she would open the clinic and then she would come in like, hey, I think we want to buy a house. I'm like, you cannot do this for the next 5 to 6 years because you need to build the clinic, get it profitable, pay yourself back to your normal, and then have a history of that. Like she would have been fucked. And I would have been like, cool, sucks to be you.
Mm. But she shared, and it's kind of like going in for a quick checkup, right? So you say, I think I want to get a
Yeah.
house. Let me see if I'm house ready. What would it take
Yeah.
to be house ready? And
Exactly.
then taking that look at all my finances and but not just my finances. What are my goals? Am I trying to open my own business? Am I trying to do this other thing? What are my goals? And then
And
putting that
that's why I
together.
like to tell buyers, like, you need to find a realtor and a lender that you feel
Hmm.
really comfortable telling all your business to. We need to know the big picture. We need to know everything so we
Yeah.
can help you get there. Don't I had a client one time and she was like, "Hey, I'm ready to buy a new house." And she's like a badass handy woman and like she can do anything. And she was like, "No, this is fine. This is fine. We're going to do it quickly." And I was like, what is the fucking hurry? Like, what is happening? And then finally she goes, I'm pregnant. And I was like, that would have been nice to know like 2 months ago to know that there is a timeline. Cause I just thought you were being fucking impatient. Like, what? And she was like, I know, I should have told you. And I was like, you should have fucking told me.
But yeah, these things matter. I mean,
Yeah, they
your
do.
timeline is based on so many things, and you do that. You have to do that checkup, see where you're at. Are you house ready are you? And then
Yeah.
develop your timeline from there.
It's interesting. I have a client now, bless her. But she has to be out of her place at the end of the month. So she's starting to make a little bit of desperate decisions. She's like, I need to play, I don't want to move twice. And I'm like, you might have to move twice, which will absolutely suck and it'll be short term, horrible pain. But I'm not allowing you to buy a shitty house that will be long term shitty for you because short term you can't handle this. You might have to go through this bullshit short term, but I'm not allowing you to settle on something that is
Yeah.
really inappropriate for you because you're scared of moving twice. I get it. Moving twice is terrible. Like I am not encouraging it, but I'm going to just hold you to some standards that you have put forth. And I'm going to remind you of them.
Yeah, I think I think we all I've been there myself where you make these decisions because you feel stuck and you don't want
Totally.
to make that, there are other decisions that could have been made, but this felt like I just gotta get this done. And then you end up
Yeah.
with the house that's too expensive or whatever it is you're thinking about buying
Yeah.
housing from.
And I'm just like, I tell my clients a lot, I'm like, you're not actually in a hurry. It feels like you're in a hurry. You feel pressured, but I'm here with perspective to slow you down and remind you that this is not the house that you want.
Yeah. Now, we talked a lot about the timeline and being house ready. We talked about buying a house and building equity. And some of us might be thinking, okay, I have this house, I live here. Maybe it's a one family house, maybe it's a multi-family house, and it's build equity. And why not just get another one and use that for income? And do you have clients who do that kind of work?
Oh my God. So many people.
Yeah.
So many people are like, okay, this is my long-term piggy bank. Now I have three piggy banks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, or one person that buys a duplex, buys both sides, lives in one, rents out the other, fixes up this one. This person moves out. They move into that one, rent this one out, fixes this one up,
Oh,
moves on to the next one,
oh, that's a
and
nice
just
idea.
keeps it's like a house hack. I think
Mm-hmm.
they call it. And so then you've built equity, you've
Hmm.
remodeled, so you've built more equity in these two. You've moved. Maybe this is the one that you're going to be in for a while, and you just know that this duplex is going to be your jam. And that's just going to
Hmm.
be eventually, hopefully, as rents go up, you are maybe cash flowing a little bit, but it's more about building the equity here, and then you're also building the equity here, and then you're just like piggy banks.
Now, if you have your home and you build equity to get investment property like this, and your cash flow is more, you get to hopefully cover your expenses on that investment so you're not losing, right? But ideally, there's some cash flow, and then
Mhm.
that can be cash flow almost like your own side hustle, or it could be cash flow that you put right into the principal to pay off one of the properties faster to pay less interest because we pay so much interest.
Yeah. Or you keep that cash flow as in a interest-bearing bank account that is you just know is going to be for repairs. Or like I know I'm going to need a new roof in 5 years, and so this is just going to like sit there, gain some interest, and when it's time, I'm not going to like have to pull from the equity or pull from something else. Or you put it, or you start building enough where you're like, oh, this is going to be the down payment for the next place.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of different ways to kind of like it's just puzzle pieces that you're just moving around all the time.
I love this. So we went from how, we were talking about housing and security before we jump on the interview, and so many people who have that to having living somewhere to having a home where you belong
Mhm.
to building equity and generational wealth through that to
Yeah.
then now having a home that leads to homes,
Yeah.
investment side hustle type of project. So
And
this.
that's the like that's where I'm like to my babies. Let's go. Like I want all of my clients to like be wildly financially stable and then take I've never been financially stable until like a couple of years ago. Like ever. Like I grew up poor. I continue to make some questionable decisions. And then even when I started, I went into like major credit card debt getting my business launched. Like, and by the time I was like, okay, I'm stable, I realized I was in $60,000 of credit card debt. 65 actually, maybe? Yeah.
That heart hurts,
So
right?
what I did, so I had already bought my house, my
Mm-hmm.
first house, like barely. I was like fucking digging through the couch cushions to get money for that. Like it was scraping the bottom of the barrel. I barely made it. And my rent was like at the time was like 950 and my mortgage was going to be 1800 and I was like, oh God, I just doubled my but it worked. So by the time I got stable with like, oh, I have enough business to support myself, but oh God, I have this $65,000 in credit card debt, which means I'm just paying interest. I'm just paying interest and it's like draining me. And I had a coaching session with one of my friends who's this amazing coach, and I had so much shame about it. And she like she made me cry and she was like instead of shame about this debt you've gotten into tell me what you've paid for. And I was like, well, I went on some trips and like and then I like had to do this renovation and then like and all this stuff. And she goes, okay, it's allowed you to travel, it's allowed you to upgrade your house. I've paid for like girlfriends' lawyers' retainers before because they had to get out of an abusive relationship and like they just didn't have the money. And I'm like, if I'd rather just do that, like I'd rather do this. Pay me back, don't pay me back. You cannot stay here. Like it allowed community, like, and so she just switched over instead of like this extreme shame about this credit card debt. She was like, let's be grateful for it first. And I like started crying. And she was like, cool. Now you take out a home equity line of credit, you pay off that credit card debt, and then you can actually start paying off that debt quickly because you're actually paying the principal. Like pay the same amount you were, but you're actually paying the principal instead of just interest. And I got to tell you, this girl paid off that fucking debt so quickly because I was like, oh, I see an end. And I was just like a machine. Like I was like, I'm not going doing anything fun. I'm just selling houses. And I paid it off quickly because I could actually see movement. And that was to me. And then again, that was life changing. Then within a few years, I owned a house. I was out of credit card debt. My only debt was my house. And then that opened me up to my nervous system calming down. Like it wasn't keeping me up at night. And it was by buying the house, which got me into debt, but then gaining the equity because I would like, I was doing renovations as I was doing that. Like you do have to, you can't, there's some houses you can just sit in and they just like naturally do, but you have to do some stuff.
Hmm.
And that was, I mean, that changed my life. It changed my life. All of a sudden, I went from survival, 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 survival my entire life, growing up poor, jumping from job to job. I think I moved 30 times before I was 30, you know, then being in, and like basically being in debt and having that weight. Because if you've ever been in debt, you understand that weight. It is nonstop. Every waking hour and every sleeping hour, it's just on you. And it feels so heavy. And then being able to shift that debt from I could not get out from under it to I had a clear path of being able to do it using the equity of my house and then paying that off quickly. Like it truly changed my life. And now then I was able to save for retirement. Then I was able to help friends. Then I was able to concentrate on things other than just survival. And I think that's what like it's changed my life and I want that to happen to people that this is not their baseline. There's lots of people out there and I help people out there that homeownership is baseline, financial stability is baseline, family stability is baseline. That is not me. That has never been me. There's so many people where they get one of those or they get two of those, but like the passion I have for getting specifically marginalized communities that get essentially gatekept from home ownership and this kind of stability and this kind of community, like that's that's the basis for everything. Like I feel it in my body. That's what I want for people. The people that like this changes their lives instead of like, oh, this is just a normal thing that I do. I like helping the people that this is a normal thing that I do. It's nice. It's like great. I don't have to educate from zero. But the really deeply satisfying is this will change your life.
I love the mindset shift focus.
Hmm.
I think a lot of times we get into survival mode and we stay there for a long time or most of our lives. It's a very difficult mind shift. So I enjoyed that part of the conversation and understanding how this works in that mind shift and what your friend did in that coaching session to push you into that mind shift.
It was
Uh,
hard.
yeah.
She pushed too. I was like, no, 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 no. I was like just a little scared kid in a corner. And she was like, come on out.
Yeah.
It's fine out here.
That mindset shift is powerful, but sometimes
Yeah.
you need a different kind of bully to push you
Yeah.
in, get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was yeah, so I think that's huge. And again, another wonderful way of looking this mindset shift out in terms of owning a home where you belong and using equity, balancing that off to pay off debt that's interest heavy and then focusing on that. It's about learning to use your money for you. It's what people with wealth know how to do. We're not
Oh,
taught how to do that in
oh
school.
my God. That was the thing is like, I didn't know any of this. And
Mhm.
so I knew nothing. And there's this one of that same coach basically coached me into, I was like, there's different things. Like there's the set of people and communities that are like, do not get into debt no matter what. Pay cash for everything. That includes your rent. That means you can't get a mortgage. And that's a lot of immigrant communities because that's how what has allowed them to survive, right?
That's us.
Cash,
That's
cash,
how I
cash,
grew up.
cash, cash, cash. Do not get into debt. That will fuck you. That's one mindset. And then
Mhm.
there's other mindset that's like, fuck it, it's not real. Just get debt. I'll figure it out later. But the wealthy get into wise debt and they
Yes.
leverage that debt to build more wealth. And that was the part I had never known. And that was the part that these coaches are like, let me bring you into how the wealthy think. The
Hmm.
wealthy use debt to their advantage, not to their disadvantage. Like they're using it instead of it using you. And that, like, the debt using you for fuckery and all the interest to you using debt to like continue to build wealth, like that mind shift was huge for me. Is like the mortgage is good debt. the HELOC is good debt. Like there's good debt and bad debt, and like let's figure out how to leverage the debt to your advantage. And like that for me, and no one had taught me that. So this is why I'm like super open with my finances to be like, no one taught me other than these women that were above, like ahead of me. And these women opened up their finances and their lives and their mindsets and like kind of brought me along. And I'm like, no, let's think about it a different way. And so to me, like also really trying to educate folks that the wealthy gatekeep this shit. They don't want everybody else to be wealthy, which is bullshit. Don't even get me fucking started about that.
But no one's teaching us this, right? They have access to this information and we don't have access to this information.
And it's their baseline. It's
Yeah.
their baseline of information. Whereas we gotta like claw at it, pull it
Yeah.
over here, pull it over here. Like I feel like social media has made it a little bit easier, but this was 10 years ago for me. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Imagine
and also
20,
social
40.
media is going to be like, oh, download this free thing and then pay this thing. I don't want to charge any. This is like read a blog, talk to me. Like, let's go be on a podcast. Listen, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I want to continue to help people is just like, here's some fucking information.
Yeah. Here you go. And
Yeah.
and what you do with it is up to you, but there's so much you can do with this information. And by the way,
Yeah.
you have an email subscription program where you do share some insights. So for our listeners,
Yeah.
the link is in the description for this podcast episode. I hear it's
Yeah, sign up for the newsletter.
yeah.
I know everybody says that, but I gotta say, like, I'm really proud. Like most newsletters, they have my blogs, and my blogs are really great. And my like to the people to the like, they're like, "Oh, I read every single one," and I'm like, "What? Who does that?" And they're like, "Oh, I do. They're really good." I'm like, "Thank you."
Now we got to see if it's true. So you're gonna have to sign up to see the blog.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I can definitely see you sharing a lot of these insights, the insights that were not accessible to us 10, 20 years ago, and now it's a little bit more easier to access, and people like you are bringing this information out there. Lots of wonderful nuggets of information and inspiration in terms of thinking about housing as attainable. Let me say that
Yeah.
housing as attainable, a home as attainable, a home where you belong. But then we flipped the script and went beyond a home that we can own and pass on to our children and started looking at a home as a tool. And here we're building equity and building more wealth in other ways or using it to balance things out when we have an emergency or a crisis. I mean, it's very powerful to own a home, things you cannot do if you're just renting. And of course, many times we can only rent, but if
Yeah.
when we might only want to rent, but if you are even thinking about having a home, what a great time to have that checkup, like going to the doctor.
Yeah.
How home ready am I?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And plan
100%.
for it. If you
Yeah.
think you want it, you can do it. Plan for it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Love
That's for
it.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share that I didn't get a chance to ask you, or any final thoughts or advice?
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I love to talk about this stuff and you ask great questions, so I really appreciate you. I also like always like to encourage people like even if you're not buying or selling in Portland, please reach out to me through via my website, via Instagram. It's just my name, Lauren Goché. And I have an incredible network of like-minded realtors all over the country, and so I love to matchmake. So put that in your thoughts. Yeah.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
She's pushing us into that world. See? And it
Love
nice.
bully again.
Yeah, without as much bullying, with more love this time. But
Yeah.
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 Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And to our listeners, thank you for hearing this episode. I know that you walked away with some great nuggets of information, and know that the resources are in the description for the episode. You just have to click on the link or copy and paste into your browser. But thank you again, Lauren, for being here and coffee and an interview. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you. It was so wonderful to talk to you.